Have you ever walked into a room and instantly changed who you are? Like you laugh a little louder, you talk a little different, you agree with things you don't even agree with, or maybe you act like everything is fine, even when it is not. Pause. What if I told you you might not be fake? You might just be performing. And the scary part, a lot of people don't even realize they're doing it. Welcome back to the Gracefully Growing podcast, where we provide you with real talk, real growth, and real life tools to help you thrive in school and in life. I am Dr. Kemi, educator, author, speaker, and gratitude advocate, as well as mom to my amazing 13-and-a-half-year-old sunshine. I am excited that each week you choose to join me as we explore the 5 key principles that will guide you to a fulfilling life. And those 5 key principles are gratitude, reflection, affirmations, connections, as well as empathy. If this is your first time here and you're seeing me for the very, very first time, each week we break down how to live with intention in this wild journey called life, using the 5 key principles I just shared with you. We have a little bit of a celebration. We made it to 2,000 subscribers. Yay, go us, go us. Now, we need to get to 3,000 subscribers. So make sure if you come across this video and you're not already subscribed, or maybe your friend sent it to you and you're like, ooh, I like that. Please make sure you click that subscribe button and be sure to turn on your notification bell so that you will receive a notification every time I drop a new episode. And I drop new episodes every Monday morning. All right. Before we begin, I always ask you to grab your journal. If you do not have a journal, grab a notebook. If you do not have a notebook, open the notes app in your phone so you can take some notes. If you're looking for a great journal to get you started on this journey, I have written the Affirmation Gratitude Journal that is available on Amazon, and I'm going to post the link in the show notes for you. Hey there. Is your teen overwhelmed, unmotivated, or constantly reacting emotionally? It seems like everything is one huge drama to them. They're smart, they're capable, but something is getting in the way. Stress, self-doubt, distractions, or emotional overwhelm. It's not a discipline problem. It's an emotional skill gap. Living with Grace teaches teens how to regulate their emotions, build confidence, communicate effectively, and develop real discipline using a proven framework built for today's world. Hi, I am Dr. Kemi Popola, educator and mindset coach with over 20 years of experience in education and helping students succeed in school and in life. When I was an assistant principal, I detested suspending children because they had gotten into some type of altercation that is as a result of a lack of emotional intelligence or emotional resilience. That is why I Living with Grace mindset course for teenagers. So, if everything I said just now, speaking directly to you about your teenager, I want you to click below to enroll your teen today and give them tools they'll use for life. I cannot wait to see you inside the course. All right, let's begin. So today we're talking about something real. And that thing is when you start to think to yourself, I think I've been performing and I don't know who I am without it. And we're going to break it down in the following ways. What does it even mean to perform? What does performing mean? Why do teens perform? signs that you've been performing, the cost of performing, like what it costs you emotionally to perform, to be on all the time. How do you stop performing? And finally, we're going to do a grace reset and your weekly challenge. So let us begin with, what does performing even mean? Performing is when you act a certain way to be liked, you hide parts of yourself to avoid judgment, you become who people expect you to be instead of who you actually are. It means you are not your authentic self. You are somebody else with different people. So it's almost kind of like you're in a play, but nobody told you when the play started, when rehearsals are, or when rehearsals would end. So an example would look like this. You're together in your group of friends and you're laughing at jokes that aren't even funny because you just want to fit in with them and you don't want people to look at you like you're weird. You pretend you understand something in class so you don't look like you are slow. You act unbothered even though what somebody said to you really, really hurt your feelings. You change how you talk depending on who you are around. Let's be honest. Some of y'all have multiple personalities depending on your group chat, right? Would you agree with me? There is one version of you in class, another version of you at home, another version of you online, another version of you with friends. Listen, at this point, you're basically running a whole Netflix series called Who Am I Today? Now, let's talk about why teens perform. Why do you perform? I'm going to make a connection between your brain and your behavior for a second. Your brain is wired for safety and belonging. So that means it senses rejection, judgment, embarrassment, and so on. So your brain goes, okay, let's adjust, let's fit in, let's survive. It's not weakness, it's just biology. Because what's happening internally is that your amygdala, which is your emotional alarm system, activates when you feel socially threatened. So instead of you being yourself, your brain then says to you, let's become the version that gets accepted in this group. But here's the problem. When you perform for too long, you start losing track of yourself, what you actually like, what you actually believe, who you actually are. And now, baby, you exhausted. Because let me tell you something. Performance, that's work. Now let's talk about the signs you need to pay attention to let you know that you have been performing. So you might be performing if you do the following. You overthink everything you say after conversations. You feel drained after being around people. You struggle to make decisions without asking other people. You feel like people don't really know you. You act different depending on who you're with, and you say yes when you want to say no. You ever left a conversation feeling and thinking to yourself, now, why did I say that? Why didn't I just be myself? Yeah, that's that performance fatigue that you feel when you've been performing. Here's a funny thing. Sometimes we practice something that we're going to say in our brain, right? So you kind of go, so if so and so says this to me, then I'm say this back. And then the conversation goes completely off script. Now you're sitting down there thinking, well, I didn't rehearse that. That is what it looks like when you're performing. Now let's talk about what it costs you to be performing all the time. It's an emotional burden. Because here's the thing, performance is not harmless. It can cost you your identity if you're always adjusting. Who are you when no one is watching? It can make you attract the wrong people. Here's what I want you to know, people will connect with your performance, not the real you. So now your friendship feels surface level. Number three, cost of performing. This one is exhaustion. You just feel exhausted because you are constantly filtering yourself, editing yourself, monitoring yourself. I'm thinking about it, and I'm mentally drained for you because it is mentally draining. Number four, you start to feel like you are not enough because deep down, you know, if they saw the real me, would they still like me? I'm going to pause here for a minute. You are allowed to be authentically, beautifully you. There is no one like you. So your authentic self should be beautiful and proud and loud. And you walk in your authentic power because when you are performing, it will cost you the four things that I just mentioned. Performance is expensive. When you catch yourself performing, I want you to pause because you see that right there? That's when that shift is going to happen for you. Let's make this a little bit practical. How do you stop performing? So I've told you how to notice that you're performing. I have told you the cost of performing. Now let's talk about how do you stop performing? Number one, you start small. You just can't go from performing to fully automatic, fully authentic overnight. That's not how this is supposed to work. So I want you to try saying what you actually think once a day. Don't laugh at something if it's not funny. And always choosing honesty over approval. That's how you start small. Number two, get real comfortable being misunderstood. Not everyone will get you. That's okay. You are not here to be understood by everyone. So get real comfortable with being misunderstood. Number three, notice your triggers. Pay attention to when you start performing. Notice, is it around certain people or is it in certain environments? Because here's what happens. When you have that awareness, you're able to pause and reset. And that, my friend, is where the real power is. Number four, when you notice yourself performing, I want you to ask yourself one question. Is this me or is this performance? You see, that one question changes everything because the moment you realize that this is a performance, you can pause and you can reset. Now we move on to the grace reset for this. When you realize that you've been performing, you don't panic. What you do is you reset. So let's talk about it through the grace framework. Gratitude is where you start because what gratitude does for you is gratitude shifts your focus from asking what's wrong with me to what's right with me. Gratitude allows yourself to ask yourself, what parts of myself have I been hiding that I am actually grateful for? So some examples might be, I am grateful that I'm thoughtful. I am grateful that I care deeply. I am grateful that I am different. Gratitude is a mindset shift so that your focus then becomes what is right with me. Reflection allows you to ask yourself, when do I feel the most fake? Who am I trying to impress? That one is important. What am I afraid will happen if I'm fully my authentic self? Because the truth of the matter is this: most performance is rooted in fear, the fear of being judged, the fear of being rejected, or the fear of being misunderstood. So reflection allows you to sit with yourself and ask yourself, what would happen if you're fully your authentic self? And once you're able to name what will happen, then it loses its power over you. Let's talk about affirmations. Affirmations is where we rebuild your identity. They are not magic. Affirmations are mental trainings for you. They help you to shift your mindset by replacing negative thoughts with positive truths. So, affirmations are your self talk. Because here's the thing: what you constantly tell yourself is what you will believe. Let me offer you some affirmations. I don't have to be perfect to be accepted. The right people will like the real me. I am safe to be myself. Finally, we move on to connections. I say connections like this: you don't have to do hard things alone. I keep saying this and I say this every week. When you are around people that make you feel safe, you are more likely to show up as your real self. So your charge is to find your people and surround yourself with people who make you feel safe so that you can become and appear as your authentic self. Now, let me say this. You may be in friend circles right this moment, and I want you to hear me say this clearly. Not everyone deserves the real you immediately, but someone does. Someone does. So your people that you surround yourself with should be people that allow you to share an honest opinion. Your real connection should be people who allow you to admit when you're nervous, when you're anxious. You don't have to hide yourself in your real relationships, because I want you to remember this: connection grows where authenticity lives. Finally, empathy. Be kind to yourself. I want you to know this: you're not performing because you're fake. Remember what I told you about your brain keeping you safe? The amygdala, its whole job is to keep you safe. You may be performing because you were trying to feel safe in those spaces where you are. This is why it's important that you surround yourself with people that would allow your authentic self to present itself, to grow. Empathy allows you to say this to yourself: oh, I understand why I did that. I understand that I am learning to show up differently. This is the grace reset. Now let's talk about your challenge for this week. For the next 48 hours, I want you to notice when you start performing, pause before you respond, and choose one moment to be real. Just one. For your journal prompt, write this in your journal: where in my life am I performing? And what would it look like for me to show up as my real self? That's your challenge for this week. In closing, I want you to hear me when I say this: you don't have to earn your place by becoming someone else. You don't have to shrink, edit, or perform to belong. The right spaces, the right people, will make room for the authentic and real you. And the real you, he is enough. She is enough. All right. If this episode spoke to you in any way, I want you to share it with someone who might be feeling the same way. And I want you to remember this: breathe, reset, grow. Until next week, stay graceful, stay growing, and I am cheering you on. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Gracefully Growing. Thank you so much for tuning in and growing with me. Remember, living with grace means showing gratitude, taking the time for reflection, speaking powerful affirmations, building strong connections, and practicing daily empathy with yourself and others. If today's episode gave you something to think about, inspired you, or made you smile, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can also download today's free resource in the show notes and join our Gracefully Growing community on social media for more tools, encouragement, and real talk. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself, keep growing, and most of all, keep living with grace. I am Dr. Kemi. See you next week.